Welcome to LexisNexis Risk Solutions Facing Change series. I'm Angus Sim, and today I'm delighted to welcome Julian David. Julian is the CEO of Tech UK. A very warm welcome, Julian. So to get us started, COVID has had many impacts, as we know, one of which is sort of accelerating digital transformation. How's Tech UK reacted, and how have you supported business and others through this change?
Online banking, e-commerce, e-health, families, things, just us doing this interview, using Zoom. These are things that people have now got used to. And we've done some surveys actually to show this is pretty widely adopted. It's not age related either. Plenty of people over 70 getting very familiar with these techniques. So what did we have to do? We had three things to do, Angus, which was the first thing was to respond. And obviously that was a lot about helping the health service and public services and key workers and the infrastructure itself to actually continue to function, working with our 850 member companies on that. The second thing was then adapting. How do you adapt to the new world? What are the important things, the human factors as well as the technical factors, ways to change business, etc.?
Obviously, that covers a number of themes. I'd like to ask you about one specific one, which relates to a report that you published recently, which you entitled Digital Identities, the Missing Link in the UK's Digital Economy, which is Tech UK published. So yes. The obvious question is, why is digital identity or digital identities the missing link?
Well, the problem that we have at the moment is there is no proper, validated way for people to actually understand who they are online, who they're talking to online. There's no way for services to actually find the people they need to find, or people to connect with the services they need. There's no way to actually prove you are this. Every time you try and use a digital service, you have to prove who you are. You have to start again, and somebody has to do that responsibility. And it's a real problem.
There are a number of facets to that problem, I think. There's the issue of it allows more fraud. There's the issue around the lack of it perhaps makes it harder to deliver convenient experiences for people online. Are you more interested in the fraud angle, the trust angle? How do you see it?
We're very interested in the trust angle. We think trust is the heart of the digital transformation of any part of the economy and society. So there isn't really that ability to trust systems. There isn't that ability to trust users, which does, of course, bring fraud into the problem. And as we see with the NAO report on some of the fantastic initiatives the government has put in place to keep our society, our economy going, to keep people employed, to keep businesses functioning during this crisis, there's been potentially a huge amount of resources and money gone to the wrong place, either criminal, fraudulent, or mistakes and errors. And equally, some people have found it very difficult to get access to services because they don't have an easy way to prove that they are.
Very clearly put. And to that point about trust, how has this experience, this crisis, affected the public's view and trust of what people might think of as digital identity?
So I think there's been a sea change. I mean, the first thing that happened, as I said earlier, is that people accept online interaction, and that's across every type of demographic, every age group, every part of society. They accept the idea it's a good thing to be online. Just things like contactless payments, the sort of decline in cash and so on. People really expect this now, and they think it's healthier and better and faster and easier. So I think that's the first thing that's happened. The second thing that's happened is that people have then sort of understood, yeah, but somebody needs to look after me here. I need some way of being secure in what I'm doing. I need to know that no one else can get my identity or to find out things I could do. I mean, from something as simple as people jumping into online meetings that they weren't allowed to in the early days, through to, is somebody able to access my bank account or my medical records or, so that point of trust and the need for a digital identity, I think, is really well understood and accepted by people.
And if we feel that the population is more accepting, and I think you're probably right, what do you think governments? What's Tech UK looking for government to do to help this?
Well, get a move on is one of the things I would say. The time is now. People get a bit, they get a bit concerned with the history of this, and they say, is digital identity, is that just identity cards resurrected, coming back in some sort of zombie incarnation? And the answer is no, for several reasons. One is the world has moved on, the technology's moved on, and the way this can be implemented now is totally different. This is not a rerun of ID cards. This is about empowering the individual user, the citizen, the service user, to control how much of their identity is actually needed in order to enable that service. So you have a trusted identity that you control, and you decide how much of that needs to go to a particular service. And so what do we want the government to do? We want them to do basically 3 to 4 things, Angus. So number one is there needs to be at the center of any of this, first of all, secure data sets, reliable data sets. And fundamentally, the government has the most powerful of those. And so they need to open those up. This is things like passport and driver license identities. To put with the private sector identity and data sets, put those together, you can get a very robust understanding of that. The second thing we need them to do is to be the person that ensures that trusted players come into this. So to actually take a role of guiding this. We don't want them to develop it. We don't want them to rewrite, write their own version again, like has happened in the past. But we want them to take a role of that. We want them also to have a role in promoting standards, because we think there will be a lot of implementations of identity depending on the service you're after. So the healthcare thing will be completely different from financial services, which will be completely different from transport facilities, which will be completely different from payments, which will be different. We think there will be solutions in each of these areas, but there needs to be a coordinating role. The last thing the government needs to do is to get rid of legislation, which at the moment, there is legislation that actively forbids you to use a digital identity rather than producing some grubby piece of paper or a laminated something or other, or taking your passport around with you, which a lot of young people were doing just so they could prove they're over a certain age. So those are the 4 things we need them to do.
Are there some quick wins for government to get that moving?
Yes, there are. I mean, let's get the various restrictive legislation done. Yeah. Let's please open up these data sets, put in place the right sort of body that will look at standards and that will promote interoperability, and put in place the trust guidelines.
Just especially thinking about how the UK is going to come out of this COVID crisis, is tech going to lead the way, and is digital identity part of that?
This is the digital decade, Angus, and we were always looking at Tech UK and saying it's time we took a perspective on digital, right? Because we are very confident about the benefits of digital, but we're not blind to the challenges, and we're also not blind to the fact that you need to make these benefits available to everybody. And up till now, that's not necessarily been the case. The digital industry in the UK has grown 6 times faster than any other industry. It's added hundreds of thousands of jobs over the past few years, and it has the potential to add more. We believe there's going to be a shortage of about 1 million jobs working across digital. And everybody thinks that's people writing programs. It's not. I mean, this is a big opportunity for UK PLC and for UK society, and we should grasp it. But underpinning it, we need to have the basic building blocks. Digital identity is such an important one.